Hello and welcome back to the Orlando Adventures podcast. I'm your host, Russ, and today I'm joined by another fabulous guest. We have got Anni Stores. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. Genuinely, we were just saying before we kind of click record, I've been loving your content with regards to Disney cruises. So I really wanted to get you on to have a chat about it, and I'm very excited to get into it.
Me too. Me too. I love talking everything Disney cruise, so it's a perfect day for me.
Ideal. Nice. So who is Anni? Who is Anni? What is your kind of Instagram and your YouTube all about?
Okay, so it's around us as a family, really. So we're a family of 5. We've got me, my husband Pete, and 3 children, Sophie, Chloe, and Oscar. And we love Disney. We always have. And over the last few years in particular, we've been very fortunate enough to be able to travel to Walt Disney World, to Disneyland Paris, and of course the Disney cruises. So we do love it all. We also love Universal Studios in Orlando as well. And we've got a big, long bucket list of other things that we want to do in the future. Lots of other trips.
Yeah, amazing. And I suppose there's so many kind of Disney related things around the world that we're spoiled for choice a little bit. So trying to get them all done.
That's the hard part, really. And sometimes it's really easy to kind of stick with your old favorites and what you know and love. But we definitely have got some new places that we want to tick off the bucket list soon.
Yeah, very exciting, very exciting. How long have you been kind of doing your Instagram and your YouTube then?
So with the YouTube, I started it during COVID because there wasn't a lot else going on, and because we had to shield, we couldn't leave the house. So it was really such a difficult time, and I really just wanted something to do that would give me some kind of structure, something to look forward to. So the early videos that I did on YouTube were just literally stuff I could do in the house, and I'm amazed that anybody actually watched them. But I've still got some really lovely people who have been here since those OG days, which amazes me. And then of course, as soon as we were able to travel, then it's really kind of pivoted into more of a travel kind of YouTube channel, really.
Yeah, nice. And enjoying kind of doing the vlogging, so to speak.
Oh, we love it. I mean, I think, we get so many questions about, from people saying, oh, I kind of really want to try it. What would you recommend? And I would always recommend just do it. I mean, for us, especially with Oscar, seeing him growing up, watching the first vlogs of him being so tiny, and now his sassy self is actually just amazing to look back on. And people have always done home videos, haven't they? With camcorders and pictures. We've always documented our life in some way, but I guess here is just an extra step in kind of putting it into the public. But again, that was really during the time of COVID. It was because, family and friends we couldn't see. So it was nice for them to kind of keep in touch with our life. And then it's just kind of grown from there, really. And then naturally the sort of Instagram just followed along with it for all the other pictures and things that you don't often share on the channel. And I just love when I'm looking at Instagram and looking at everybody who I follow, just love looking at people's adventures, people's trips, what people are buying. I love it all.
Yeah, every aspect of it, just being able to kind of just be able to see kind of what everyone else is doing, but also for yourself to be able to document it, and also you can look back at it as well. You said,
absolutely.
where Oscar was very young, and you can obviously see how he's grown up through the years and through your trips as well, which is so magical as much as anything.
Absolutely.
To see.
And for everyone, it's just a bit of escapism, really, isn't it? It's nice to see everyone at their best, at their happiest, loving life. And sometimes with work and the pressures of life, it's just nice to have an outlet that's not stressful. It's just chill. It's just happy. Everyone's just loving life.
Yeah. And did you have any kind of inspiration from kind of other content creators to kind of pick the camera up and make Disney content?
Yeah, there's so many channels that I watch and others where I've taken inspiration from, and all different types of families or trips that I follow. So I follow, just adults doing couples only. I follow, families who are having the family trips, solo travelers. So there's a lot of inspiration that I do have. And I'm kind of reluctant to kind of reel off a list because I know I'll forget someone who
No,
I
I
love,
know,
and
I
I
know.
don't want to offend anyone. But if you look at my follow list on Instagram, then I think you could probably see
Yeah,
who I take
absolutely.
inspiration from, but always on the hunt for, new people that I haven't come across. I think what I love about this so much as well is the community aspect of it, and everybody coming together and making friends and sharing their lives together and meeting up as well. That's always so nice as well. So
Yeah, oh, amazing. Absolutely. Like to be able to kind of like meet people who have this shared passion of kind of like Disney or Orlando, especially in kind of this space, and actually make genuine friends. I think it's incredible. It really is. And this is, I'm sure you found, a lot of other people have found, like kind of being involved in like social media and different aspects, but this community is unrivaled. It is absolutely unmatched in terms of like the positivity. It
oh,
is.
100%. And I guess that's natural with the shared interest, but it's just been so nice to meet people. And we've met people in Paris, we've met people in Orlando, we've met people on the cruises, we've met people who have become, genuine friends who, come around to the house and, stay over and we're in each other's lives. And it is so nice because, again, as an adult, when do you really get the opportunity to kind of
Yeah,
genuinely make new friends? It's quite hard, isn't it,
yeah,
sometimes?
100%. Yeah, completely agree. Well, I'm sure a lot of people know you're clearly very into Orlando, but as we've said, we're gonna talk about Disney cruises today. I'm sure I might go on a tangent about Orlando here and there because I can't help myself. I haven't done a Disney cruise, but I've looked at them a lot, and they look magical. They really, really do. And obviously, I love to hear kind of about like your experiences with Disney cruises. When I spoke to you about it, you said to me that you're very in your Disney cruise era, which
Oh,
I think is brilliant.
100%. And it's my brand new like obsession. And there's just something about it that's just so different from the parks. So you can't compare. It's so different that you can't compare. But it's so chilled, which at the moment with what's happening in my actual life is just what I need, is more like chilled magic rather than
Full
frenzy
on. Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. So how many times have you been on Disney cruises at this point then?
So we've just completed our fifth Disney cruise, which now makes us Gold Castaway Club members, which is something I'm so
Amazing.
excited about. That makes me so happy. And we started cruising in 2021 when a lot of people started cruising. And it's funny, really, because I have an old friend who is a DVC member and has been on about a bajillion Disney cruises, and we work together many years ago actually, and he was telling me at the time, oh my god, you love Disney so much, you need to do a Disney cruise. But I am the kind of person who gets travel sick standing in a puddle, so it was just something that I didn't find appealing because I thought, I've done like little boats and I've genuinely been hanging off the edge. It's not good for me.
Yeah,
So I thought, oh, they're a lot of money, and I think the minimum sort of length that you're on them is like 3 days. And the thought of being ill for 3 days was just like, nope, absolutely cannot. So even though he'd been recommending them to me for years, it was only during the sort of post-COVID travel when Disney put on the Disney Magic at Sea cruises from the UK, which I know a lot of people took part in, us included, because we thought, look, it's going from Liverpool, that's really not far from us. If we don't like it, then at least we've tried it. It's, we've not gone to Port Canaveral on the other side of the world and done something which we've hated. And back at that time, of course, none of the Disney parks were open. So this was our
yeah,
like only chance to have a little bit of Disney magic. So we took part on the Disney Magic at Sea cruise from Liverpool. We did the 4 night, and it was a cruise to nowhere. It just kind of cruised around, and you didn't stop. Of course, it just kept on going, and we fell in love. And that was on the Magic, and yeah, it was just something about it was just so peaceful, so relaxing, and I'm very happy to say I did not get travel sick.
yeah. Amazing.
I've been able to keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, obviously, if you'd had that kind of like more negative experience on the first one, you probably wouldn't have got on the other four.
No, probably not. And it is definitely true what they say. So for anyone listening, the ships are so big, they have massive stabilizers. It's genuinely can't feel it really. There have been a couple of times when we've sailed around, I think Bay of Biscay, which is notorious for being a little bit rocky. That's really the only time I felt it, but it wasn't that I was unwell. I just needed to pop a travel sickness and it was fine. So even when it's been really rough and rocky, I've also been fine. So
It'll be
anyone
all right.
listening, I know that's always a concern about Disney cruises, but from my experience, it's fine.
Yeah, and so which Disney cruises have you been on at this point then?
So we've been on the Magic, we've been on the Dream, and we've been on the Wish,
Yeah,
and we are booked on to the Treasure. That's our next Disney cruise next year. So that will be the latest in the Disney fleet, and we just can't wait. We want to tick them all off. That's part of our bucket list, is to tick every single one off.
yeah, absolutely. Well, this is me. I think I know, but I'm just intrigued. Where have they all gone from then? So in terms of where you set sail from, where have they all gone
They
from?
do vary. So they kind of go from all over, really. The home base that you would say is Port Canaveral, which is only really down the road from Walt Disney World. But there's lots that sail from Southampton, and they
Yeah,
always have, not just with the Disney Magic at Sea ones, but there has tended to be cruises that go from like British Isles cruise and things. But Disney have definitely upped the ante on the UK based cruises. So you don't have to travel that far afield. You can get it from Southampton. There's often the Alaskan cruises that go from Vancouver. They go to Australia now, and the Hawaii and the Pacific. And with the newer cruise ships that are coming out, there's going to be one that's based in Singapore as well. And, TBC as to where the rest are, but really all over the world.
yeah, amazing, amazing. And to be fair, like having like Southampton to me feels crazy. Like obviously it's quite close to where I am in the south of England, and I weirdly I'm tangent here. I've got like an electronic billboard at the end of my road, and I drive past it every day, and it's just got Disney cruises on it. Every day I drive past it, and I'm like, you're gonna make me book it. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and I think
There has
it's
been a
amazing.
lot of press recently. I think they really are trying to promote certainly the UK based cruises. Definitely, I've seen a
Yeah,
lot published
yeah.
about them recently.
How long have your cruises been then? So obviously you've been on five of them. Have you always gone for like 3 day ones, 5 day ones? What kind of duration have you gone for?
The shortest that we've done has been a 3 night, and the longest that we've done thus far has been a 5 night. For us, we're definitely edging more towards the longer cruises, especially now that we've a little bit more experience with it and kind of understand the lay of the, well, I was going to say lay of the land, but it's not lay of the land, lay of the sea a little bit more. So we have got some cruises booked which are 10 nights. That will be a back-to-back cruise where you do two concurrent ones, and a 13-night. That's going to be our longest one, and we cannot wait.
Wow, that'll be incredible. I'm sure, absolutely amazing. So when was your most recent trip then?
So we've done two cruises this year. We've done the Wish from Port Canaveral, and that was 3 nights, which goes to Nassau in the Bahamas and Disney's private island, Castaway Key, which is just such a treat. It just feels such luxury. It feels very bougie, and it,
Yeah,
it it definitely lived up to the expectations. And then we did the Dream in the school holidays, and that was from Southampton to La Rochelle in France.
nice. So let's go with the Dream, but because it was the most recent one, I suppose. What kind of cabin did you stay in, and like not to like get you to give me all the info, but like do you know what all the cabin options are?
Yeah. So
Go
there's lots of
on.
different options. So you've got the inside stateroom, you've got the ocean view, which is your port home, you've got your veranda, which is your balcony, and then you could go all out and go really bougie, and you could book the concierge or the suites.
Amazing.
So for this
Fantastic.
recent one that we did, we booked a veranda room. I really like having that option to have that bit of the outdoor space. We did spend a little bit more time on this cruise on the veranda because the weather was actually really bad, which I know sounds a slight contradiction, but it meant that up on the very top decks, so sort of deck 11 and deck 12, where a lot of the outdoor things are, it was actually almost too windy to be up there. You were just being blown away. But actually on our veranda, because it was a little bit more sort of sheltered, it was actually just quite nice to sit there and watch the world sail by. I think we were always slightly put off with an inside cabin because, you know, I like a window. I like to see what's
Yeah.
going on. But we have booked an inside cabin for one of the cruises that we're doing next year because the price was just, it was coming up, I think, almost nearly £1,000 more for the veranda. And we just thought, you know what, I would rather be on this ship one way or the other and kind of downgrade the room so that we can
Yeah.
have more trips, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose there's probably a perception, I'm sure, amongst quite a lot of people that the kind of like the rooms or the cabins are potentially quite small. How do you find the kind of the living space? Do you find it to be fine?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's so much space and they're really clever with the storage option so that you've got space to put everything. So really the only thing then that's out is the bed and the table that you might be eating from, because they do fold down the bed that Oscar sleeps in. They fold it back into a sofa
Yeah.
during the day. So you have got loads of space. And the rooms that we've tended to go for have a split bathroom. So you've got the toilet in one and the bath shower in another. So again, for us getting ready in the morning, it's really easy because we're not kind of falling all over each other. I have seen the inside rooms, which are maybe slightly smaller in terms of footprint, but again, similarly clever with the storage options. And if I'm honest, you're never really in the room. And that's always our mantra with anything, you know, any of our trips that we do, kind of always tend to do the cheaper options because we're never in the room. We're always out exploring, doing things, taking part in all the entertainment and the activities. So we don't necessarily need a grand room, really.
No, exactly that. And I know I'm sure you've heard me say a lot of times before, like the same with Orlando. My view is I'd rather go more frequently
Yes.
and sacrifice the room. It's the first thing that's going to go. Like if I can get out there and because I'm going to be not in the room for a long period of time, like I'm going to do everything I can to be doing the cruise or the holiday, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So
No, completely agree.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, we'll get into kind of activities in a second. I'm sure there are loads of activities to be doing on the cruises. One question. This is one that which the first thing on my mind is food and drink.
Oh, it's always the first thing on my mind too.
Yeah. So how does the food work? Like in terms of, is it just an all inclusive? Do you get different kind of tiers of like what you're allowed to get? What how does it work?
So I think this is what really adds to the value of a Disney cruise. And I say that not lightly in the sense of they are expensive trips, so totally get that, and
Yeah.
everybody's budgets are different. But when we've compared Disney Cruise Line to others, the real value of a Disney cruise is that it is all inclusive. So you've got your main dining rotation. So there's typically tends to be, say, 3 main dining rooms on board, which you rotate round in terms of your cruise and the length of stay that you're on. The menus will differ as well. So you're not having the same thing time and time again if you are on for more than 3 nights, for
Yeah.
example. And it is fully inclusive. So your breakfast, there's a couple of different options. You can have a sit-down breakfast in one of the main dining rooms, or you can have the buffet breakfast from Cabanas. For lunch, it's similar. You've got the buffets at Cabanas, or you've got the sit-down in the main dining restaurants. And then the dinner options, that's really what's so special about them, is because each night there might be a slightly different theming and it's all a la carte. So you've got, you know, your starter, your main, your desserts. It's fabulous. The food is really brilliant. And then on top of that, you've also got what I would describe as quick service options, which are on the pool deck. So those are things where you can get burgers and fries, or chicken tenders, or chicken shawarma, or burrito bowls, or even on one, there's a big barbecue grill place. And so you certainly do not go hungry, that's for
No,
sure.
no,
You can
definitely.
certainly grab your Mickey waffles. You can have unlimited ice cream, unlimited cookies. The soft drinks are all included. They have fountains that are all available on deck for you to just help yourself. The only thing not included, and what they don't tend to do really, is drinks packages that you would normally get on a cruise. So they don't
Yeah,
have, like an all-inclusive cocktail package, for example. But you can, have a wine service, and the bottles of wine that you buy, if you don't drink them all, they'll travel around with you. So you can finish it. You can bring some alcohol on board. And our favorite thing, though, is the cocktail of the day. And it's a reduced price cocktail. It's the same all day long. You can get it from a variety of places. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it was something like $7.50. So it's the cheapest you're getting a
yeah.
cocktail, and they're always really, really good. So if you are a drinker, there are options for you as well.
Nice. Oh, it sounds amazing. It sounds like there's so many options, and that's like as much as anything. I think what people are probably asking, because I think a lot of people, especially with like kind of Orlando trips and Disneyland Paris and whatnot, we love the food. We all love
Yes.
kind of Disney food, don't we? So if we can kind of get that, but on a cruise liner, then a lot of people are going to be very happy with that. And like you said, the value for money with kind of having it all included, it is brilliant. Really, it really, really is, because it always ends up being quite a big part of any of our Orlando trips, I suppose, doesn't it?
Well,
So
we'll have to do the girl math at the end. So when we've talked about the entertainment, then that would probably be a good time to then talk about the girl math, and how I can justify these trips to myself.
yeah, 100%, love that. And I touched on it a second ago, but obviously there's so many activities, and obviously I've seen a few of them, like in terms of what there is to offer. But how does the kind of activities on the Disney cruises work? Is there like a timetable of kind of like what stuff's going on every day? How does it kind of work?
Yeah, so you are certainly never going to be idle on a Disney cruise, that's
Yeah.
for sure, because every minute of every day there is something to do, something that's going to appeal to everyone. So there is a timetable. It's on the Navigator app, which you'll always download ahead of your Disney cruise, and it will give you those timetables of activities. So you've of course got the meet and greets with all the Disney characters, and often on the cruises they might be in slightly different outfits depending on the theming of the day or where you are. So pirate night is a biggie, and seeing the
Yeah.
characters dressed up as pirates is the cutest thing ever. So you get the character meet and greets. You've then got the shows. The shows are such a big part, and again, really add to that value of the Disney cruise, because these are Broadway style shows that you would pay hundreds of pounds for a ticket for, and that is included within your cruise experience. And that pretty much happens every night. Depending on the length of the cruise, they might alternate that with other activity like musicians or magic shows, that kind of thing. But the actual shows, the Disney shows, are for us like one of the most important parts. And typically what you tend to get is a sort of movie based show. So we've seen like Aladdin, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, that kind of thing. But then you will also get some kind of like, I guess a variety show is probably the best way to put it. And it's usually like a medley of Disney characters, Disney songs all coming together. So my favorite currently is Believe, and that's just because of the songs that they have. So they have Baby Mine from Dumbo, which is, one of mine and Oscar's like little things. But then they also had Colors of the Wind by Pocahontas, and you don't often get Pocahontas in some of the Disney shows. So, but she's my favorite. So
Yeah.
that one in particular is my favorite. But they're such outstanding quality. It's just amazing. So you got the characters, you got the shows, you've got trivia. Trivia is a big thing on the Disney cruises. And on our last cruise, we spent a lot of time in the Disney trivia just to secure. They give you a medal, and
Yeah,
there's
I've
lots of
seen these.
medals to
Yeah.
collect. So we were like, we are getting one. Happy to say that we did get one.
Brilliant.
But the trivias are such a great thing to do. And then they've got lots of other things. So you can pay for additional activities like cocktail making, champagne tasting, whiskey tasting. You can do those kinds of things as an add-on. But the free activities, you can do towel folding, they do crafts. Oh, there's just so much that you can do. They've got karaoke. They've got all the kids clubs as well, which again are fully inclusive. So they've got kids clubs that are tiered to the age of your children. So right the way from tiny babies, you can pay to have them in the nursery. That is slightly different because obviously it's a bit more of a bespoke service for babies. But really, from 3 onwards, you can have the included kids clubs, and they do separate them out by age. And if your children are anything like my children, anyone who's listening, then Oscar, we cannot pry him away from the kids club from morning till night. As soon as like we're done doing something, he's like, right, I'm going, and he just runs off. He just legs it.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, honestly, it sounds like there's so much, which
Oh, I
is
didn't talk about
amazing.
the pools actually as well. Sorry,
Go
there
on.
are
No, go
obviously
on.
pools on board as well, Mickey-shaped pools and splash pads and the slides. They've got big slides on some of the ships. They have almost like the roller coaster style slide where you're watching the screens while you're in your little rubber ring. It's amazing. There is so much to do.
Yeah, yeah, honestly, like they've obviously crammed it in, but like in a way that it feels like there's just enough to do for everyone, which I think is the main thing, isn't it? Because I know there's certainly a perception from a lot of people for standard cruises that maybe like, is there enough to do? Are you just gonna like, are you gonna be sat around? But like, I don't think it is that at all, is it? It's
Oh,
that
not at
if
all. In
you can
fact,
do
it's
as
the other
much as you
way.
want to do.
Yeah, you struggle to try and cram it all in. And
Yeah,
for us, we have to get that balance right because they are a bit more of a relaxed holiday. So on the 3 nights Wish cruise that we did earlier this year, that was full on, that was jam packed. We were really doing everything on Pirate Night. We explored every inch of Castaway Cay. So that was quite full on. But for the Dream Cruise that we did in August, we knew that it was going to be a little bit busier because it's the UK based ones and it's in the school holiday time. So there were a couple of things that we chose to opt out of so that we could do a bit more of the relaxing, and we really did feel like we had such a nice relaxing stay on that one where you're not rushing around all the time trying to cram it all in. So it really is as much or as little as you want it to be.
yeah, yeah. Have you just touching on where you said, but the UK based one being quite busy? Have you found that the UK ones are a lot busier? Is that kind of like how it's felt at least?
Yeah, definitely. So we've done 2 now because obviously we have a school age child, so we're also restricted to the school holidays, and they are a lot busier. I think because of the length of time that you're on board, these are typically sort of your 3, 4, and 5 night cruises, which are a lot more appealing, certainly from a price point perspective. Obviously, naturally, you are in summer holidays, and traveling from Southampton is a lot more accessible. So, for example, last year, my extended family came with us because they've seen Disney cruises, they've seen our trips to Florida, but they're not in a position to be on a 9-hour flight. So it kind of rules it out for them. So, traveling from Southampton was dead easy. So they are busier, the busiest that we've ever experienced. And there was a lot of chatter certainly for this year on the Facebook groups, which naturally come with the Disney cruises. And there was a lot of chatter on there about, people having different experiences and complaining about some of the other guests and the behaviors that people observed. But for us, we didn't experience any of that. I think, there were certain things on the cruise that we were on, and we thought to ourselves, oh, we must have been on a different cruise because that
Yeah,
wasn't our experience at all. We generally find that everybody again is just kind of in that nice chilled frame of mind and is quite happy and just wanting to do it. So we've never come across anybody, that's rude behavior or anything
no,
like that. So it was busy, don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
it 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 wasn't anything unmanageable or
no,
uncontrollable.
no. It's not the kind of like, I feel like I can't get anything done. I feel like I can't move for like just crowds. I don't, yeah, I think that's the main thing. I think people are probably like scared of. I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. I think my only plea to Disney on that would be maybe they just need to up some of the activities a little bit in terms of characters in particular. Because again, if you think not everybody can travel to the parks and this might be their only opportunity, then clearly the characters are going to be such a focal point of their trip. And they could have put more on, I think, just to kind of maybe
Right.
disperse the
Yeah.
queues a little bit. But like I say, because we've been very fortunate enough to have had not long since got off a Disney cruise where we had met all the characters in all of their cruise gear, that was something we didn't opt in for, and maybe that was the feedback that we had is we just didn't really experience any of that negativity because we weren't part of it.
Yeah, indeed. Were there any kind of like any highlights from your most recent cruise then?
Oh, there's always highlights. I think if I might talk about the Wish cruise that we did that
Yeah,
was earlier in May.
absolutely.
One of our highlights was pirate night. So everybody dresses up and it's really nice because everyone really gets into like the spirit of it. And there's the pirate themed shows, pirate themed activities, pirate themed menu in the restaurants. And we were lucky enough to have the fireworks, which again is quite exclusive to Disney. And sadly, not always available from the UK cruises because of maritime law. But this one from Port Canaveral, there were fireworks.
Yeah.
So that whole pirate day, we did a paid for excursion in Nassau where we did a pirate ship adventure, and it was one of the best things we've ever done. It was so much fun. And then we got back on board, and within an hour we met Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Chip and Dale, and Pluto, all in their pirate themed gear, like within an
Amazing.
hour. It was amazing. And then we had a pirate themed dinner and we finished it with pirate themed fireworks. It was just one of the best days we've ever had.
Yeah. Those. I mean, I've seen videos of kind of like the pirate night at least, and it looks such fun. It really does. It looks like kind of everyone, a bit like you said, everyone kind of like just throws themselves into it and go, you know what, we can't not have a good time doing this.
I love
It
a
just
bit of fancy dress though. Who doesn't? Like, and it's
yeah,
just so nice. I think for the kids as well to see all the adults getting into it and their parents or family members. It's just so much fun. Like you can't not have a
yeah,
great time.
yeah, indeed. I think obviously Disney have been brilliant with that with parks, and for
Yeah.
them to have kind of brought it across to cruise liners, I think it's just like they've nailed it. They've nailed it. I mean, it's absolutely fair play to them for doing it and doing it obviously well. When is your next trip then?
So we have two that I wanted to share. So
Yeah,
we were actually, because of obviously we're talking to Orlando Adventures, we
yeah,
are back in Orlando next month in
amazing.
October. We're experiencing everything Halloween Horror Nights has to offer. So my husband, he had a very big birthday this year. He turned 40 and he gets a very big special trip. And for that, we're all going to Universal Studios. So it's all five of us. It's the first time that we've not really had any conflicts in terms of uni or exams or school holidays or whatever. So it's the first time we can all go to Orlando with the five of us. We're staying at Universal Studios for the week, and we've got Halloween Horror Nights, we've got Universal Studios Parks, and also Discovery Cove planned.
Amazing. It's going to be such a good trip. I can't wait to inevitably see all the pictures and videos and see it on YouTube as well. I'm very excited. Very excited.
We're so excited for that one because we love everything spooky, everything Halloween. So it's great. America, they really go all out at Halloween. So it's nice to be sort of in it for that. And then our next Disney cruise, as I mentioned earlier, will be sailing on the Disney Treasure, which is Disney's newest cruise ship. It's the sister ship of the Wish, and we love the Wish. It's such a beautiful layout. So we're excited to be on board. We're actually going to be on board for 7 nights. So it will be our longest cruise to date, and we're doing the Western Caribbean, which goes to Castaway Cay. We've got Cozumel, Falmouth, Georgetown, and Grand Cayman. So we're
Oh,
super excited
amazing.
for that one because even the destinations is things you would have only ever dreamed about.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there kind of like any must-dos? Obviously, going on the Treasure being the new one, is there any kind of like must-dos on that one that you're like, absolutely, categorically, we have got to do this activity?
Well, there's a few things on this one. So they got the Haunted Mansion themed bar. So I will be putting a
Amazing.
Disney bound around the Haunted Mansion themed bar. They've also got a Coco themed restaurant, and Coco is one of my all-time favorite Disney movies. So I'm so excited for that. They've got Worlds of Marvel in there, but I believe it's going to be more themed to like Groot and Rocket, which are obviously two adorable characters. And one of the port excursions I want to book, I actually don't know if it's still available. I need to double check, but it was the Alebrijo painting, which is a traditional Mexican activity that you can book when you're in Mexico. And again, Coco being one of my favorites, I've got a sadness tattoo that is decorated, if you will, like Alebrije style colours, because I say she's my spirit animal. And that is something, that traditional painting, I would absolutely love to do and bring home that memento. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed
Yeah.
that that's still a bookable activity.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be wicked. That'd be so good. So good. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to hear about.
You're
It's
so
making me
excited for
want to
me.
book.
Thank you.
Literally, I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing to like see and hear about all of your trips. I really am. Like the just all everything to do with the cruises. Like I find it fascinating. I find it fascinating as much as anything because I haven't done them. So I love finding out the information, and obviously like you're an absolute wealth of knowledge. Like you
And
clearly
what
know.
would be your like dream thing? Like if you were to do a cruise, what would be like your dream destination?
Oh, I love the Castaway Key looks incredible. Like I'd love to go there. Like obviously as part of one of the cruises, like for sure, 100%. And in terms of like activities, I suppose for me, the one that like stands out, that the pirate night, like I said,
Mm.
just looks so much fun. It really, really does. And I just like that as much as anything. I think kind of like it ticks a lot of boxes for what would entice me to do it.
I
And
think if you're a foodie as well, like you quite happily like roll off the ship after eating your 3 meals a day that are always
yeah,
so big. And actually the servers on there are just amazing, and they encourage you to try different things. So if you were a bit torn between two mains, they'll just go, "Oh, I'll bring you them both, try them both." And now
amazing.
we're not into waste, like we're always very like conscious about that. So again,
Yeah.
only order things that you know that you're going to eat. I have a massive appetite though, so that's never been my issue, is like finishing my food. So I'm quite happy to try lots of different things. It's almost like cruise tapas because you can have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose talk about restaurants like this. This is me on tangent. The is it on the Wish that there's the Arundel themed
Yes.
restaurant? Oh, that looks
Yes.
good. That looks good fun. That looks like a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun because it's also on in Arundel where they've got the entertainment as well. So what you'll find is some of the main dining rooms is that they will have onboard entertainment. So Arundel has got Anna and Elsa and Oaken having a little sing along,
Yeah.
and that's just, to have dinner with a show is just
Oh,
incredible, and
stunning.
the characters will have like a little wander around. So, you can be serenaded with the favorite Frozen soundtrack, which is just amazing. And one of the ones that we first did on the Magic was the Rapunzel's birthday party. So again, you've got Rapunzel and Flynn, and they're doing their soundtrack, and it's just incredible. Like if you were to try and put a price on that, I don't think you could, because where else are you going to get that same
So
experience?
yeah, so unique, so unique, and only something that can be done by Disney, realistically. But to do it kind of in that kind of setting, I think it like what a great idea. Like genuinely is like so magical. I suppose kind of talk about restaurant. What's your favorite restaurant that you've been on a Disney cruise then?
Oh, it's so hard to pick because they are all such high quality. I think I would probably say Animator's Palette because I love the theming in there. And depending on which animators you get, they do an activity where you will sit down with a sheet of paper and you will draw on your sheet of paper. You will draw you, and they actually animate you. So they turn all of the restaurant's drawings into a picture that they display on the screens around the restaurant. So you become an animator, a Disney animator, which again is people who've grown up watching the movies and going to the parks and doing all of that. To actually have your little drawing as part of a Disney animation is just so
Yeah,
special. My mind is blown by things like that. Like, how do they turn it around so quickly? How do they get everyone's drawings on the screen in
literally,
such
yeah.
a time scale? I don't know how they do it, and it's such magic, Disney magic. But that is so fun, and especially like with Oscar when he's seeing his drawing on the screen, like watching his reaction,
Oh yeah.
it's just wonderful.
Yeah, oh, I bet that's stunning. And I always say it, like kind of seeing these experiences through the eyes of others, like
Mm.
amazing. And again, like to really hammer home how good Disney are. Like for them to bring something like that to life, it is just incredible, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah.
Going from kind of like favorite things to do on the cruise side. What is your favorite activity which you've done on a Disney cruise?
One of the favorite things I've done recently was the towel folding. So one of
It
the
looks funny.
things
Yeah.
on Disney cruise, or I suppose any cruise, but I think Disney take it as always to the next level, is that when you get back to your stateroom at the end of the night, your room will be so nicely turned over, and there will be some kind of towel animal greeting you. And there's all sorts. We've had elephants, we've had monkeys, we've had big crabs, big lobsters, swans, everything. So one of the activities is to learn how to fold your own towel animals. And that's just so cool. Like, now we've got it. We know how to do it. And the next people that come to stay, they're going to be greeted with a towel animal on their bed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's such a great idea. Such a great idea. And like to make that into an activity to do on aboard the Disney cruise. I mean, it's such a great idea. It
And the
really is.
activity was actually led by one of the main stateroom managers, I think she was. And she was absolutely brilliant. And I just love that everybody gets involved on the Disney cruise. And I think, a massive shout out to the stateroom host, because, we have never experienced service like it before. Like, the rooms are to the most high standard and quality. They're absolutely spotless. You are assigned your own stateroom host. You're assigned your own servers that rotate around with you. So you really get to know the cast members on the Disney cruise, and really create that relationship and that personal
Mm,
interaction, which is also just something so lovely. But the actual service, we've had some incredible service on Disney Cruise Line.
yeah, amazing. I've got a couple more questions. What would be, and this is for me as much as anything. What would be your kind of top tip for anyone looking to do a Disney cruise then? Other than just go and do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easy one. I think if you do a Disney cruise and you love it, then one of my top tips is to purchase a placeholder on board. And not many people seem to know about this, and I was waxing lyrical about it on the last cruise that we did. You can only do it whilst you're on board, which obviously then is a little bit time bound. So have a think about it up front. But you would pay $250 to secure a placeholder. And it's actually really risk-free, because after 2 years, if you haven't used it, Disney will fully refund it for you. So you've got
Yeah.
2 years to book your next cruise. And the placeholder will come off your cruise balance, but you will also get up to 10% off your next cruise cost. And that's a big difference. I mean, we can talk
Yeah.
pricing and girl math at the end, but not many people seem to know that that existed, and we always recommend that to people. I mean, I think we've got like 3 placeholders stacked now for future use, because it is risk free. Like I say, if we don't use them within the 2 years, then you'll get it back. So
Yeah.
if you think, oh, I really enjoyed that and I think I'd want to do that again, then book your placeholder. You can take some off your balance up front. You can get a nice discount, and yeah,
Yeah. Good
you
shout.
once you've done one, I think the likelihood is you're going to want to do
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Disney, as we know, they do this better than anyone. They get
Oh
us
yeah,
in.
these once in a lifetime trips.
Yeah.
You like going on your 20th trip, but yeah,
This
once
is
in a
it.
lifetime.
We've gone from once in a lifetime doing whether or not it's Disneyland Paris, Orlando, or Cruise Liner to try to do all of them in 1 year every year. Yeah, I suppose my final kind of question, there will be one more to be fair after, was best show. What is the best show you've seen on a Disney cruise?
I think they are also incredible. So as I mentioned, I think Believe is my like favorite like variety style one, and with it you get snippets of Disney shows. So some of your much loved classic favorites, and they'll do like a song from it, and all the cast will come out and do that to like such a good standard. So I absolutely love that. And like I say, with it being Baby Mine and Colours of the Wind, that really ticked a big box for me. One of our other favorites that we've seen is Aladdin. So that's one of my husband's favorites. And it is like a Broadway show condensed in about an hour and a half. It depends on which show that you're watching.
Yeah,
But it's just unrivaled. It is like you're going and paying to go to Broadway and watch these shows, because the talent of the crew on board are just amazing. You've got all the songs that you love, all the theming, and everybody's just in awe watching this and loving it, and singing along, and it's just such a highlight of any of the trip.
Yeah, sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. And you've touched on it a couple of times. Should we get into the girl math a bit? Should we?
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say that, and I'll be transparent about the costs.
Of
These
course,
are
yeah.
expensive trips, and there isn't really deals to be had. So not like, if you're going and doing a parks trip and you've got lots of places that might sell the tickets, or you could stay on site, off site, you can do things to look at the cost. With Disney Cruise, that's not really an option. I think that the cheapest that we found it is if you're booking it up front almost, that's always going to be your lowest price. Or the secondary option is if you hold your nerve and wait until the very, very end, which is what we did on this August trip. We weren't actually planning on doing one, but we booked a GTY rate, which is a special kind of rate that they do, which is essentially when it comes to their final balance payoff and people might have dropped out at that point, then they're reselling the rooms. And it's one of those where you don't know where you're going to be. So you can't pick your deck, you can't pick your stateroom, you just pick the room type, so veranda or inside or wherever.
Yeah.
And they will assign it to you maybe a week or two before you set sail. So if you're a big planner, I mean I am, but on this one I was quite happy to be surprised. That was a cheaper option because you might have a restricted view, you might have, some kind of limitation on the room. As it turned out, we booked this GTY room at a cheaper rate, and we were allocated this ridiculous oversized veranda which actually had sun loungers on there. It was so big, so we looked out with that. So I think price wise, booking it up front or at the very last minute is kind
Is
of
the
maybe
way.
your options. But you are talking, certainly on the shorter nights cruises, for the three of us it was about £900 to £1,000 per night, which is such a lot of money, don't get me wrong. So here's where the girl math kicks in, because included within that price, you've got your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, which again, if you're a regular park goer, you know what those kinds of experiences will cost you, particularly if you think about sort of character dining or the experience with the show. So that's the kind of price point that I would apply to that. You've then got those Broadway style shows, which again, for us, like the last one that we did for the three of us, the tickets for that would be, north of £50 to £100 per person. You've then got all of your entertainment on board. And yes, there are paid for activities that you can do, but so much of it is included that you really don't need to do the additional. So if you think you're being kept occupied all day with character meet and greets, there's cinemas, there's the quizzes, there's the crafts, there's all kinds of things that you can get involved with. If you look at all of those costs and were to extrapolate that over, say, a Disney Parks trip, then actually I find it to be better value for money.
Yeah.
And that's how I girl math it.
Yeah. To be fair, and like obviously I've looked into this a lot, and I actually don't think it's bad value for money at all. Like, and because I'm comparing it against a trip to Orlando. And I'm like, that's my benchmark and everything. Any holiday.
If you're costing up like a parks trip and you've got your flights, your hotel, your tickets, and your meals, it doesn't compare really to the cruises, because all of that is ticked off the list. And really then you could go and not spend a single penny if you chose to. You don't have to have any of the additional optionals. Obviously you have got the merch shops, which of course, for any like Disney fan, you will be there, I'm sure, picking up some merchandise, but you don't actually have to do that. And again, what we've seen on the Facebook groups is a lot of people, to try and keep the costs down, they might go to, say, Primark and pick up a couple of Disney bits, so that, if they want to surprise their children with things, then they can do it without adding on the Disney Store price tag. So there's lots of ways to do it. What I do tend to find, though, with Disney is that the longer you're on the ship, the better the value is per night. So, for example, for one of our, 5 nights, we've spent sort of north of like £900, but actually for the 13 night, it's like half the price.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of like it reduces for the longer term, and I think I suppose a way to look at it is obviously, again, going back to an Orlando trip, we're typically going out anywhere between a week to 3 weeks. I think is kind
Mm.
of like what a lot of people are doing, whereas this is a more condensed Disney focused trip in the space of, like you said, 3, 4, 5 nights, but you're going to get so many activities in one kind of space and in such a, I suppose, a condensed amount of time, that your value for money is exceptional. So I rate it. I think it's definitely worth looking at, especially for people who potentially don't want to do like the travel. Like you said, I suppose you can go to Southampton. It works as an easier trip to manage if you can't do the flight.
Yeah, it's much more accessible, and the thing is, it's all relative, and often on the channel, one of the things I get asked a lot is like, how do you afford all your Disney trips? But it's all relative, right? Because we will put all of our money into Disney trips, whereas
Yeah,
some of the colleagues that I work with, they've got a really lovely car and they do their
yeah,
nights out at the weekend and everything. We kind of don't do that. Like day to day, we live, quite a simple life really, because all of our funds go into the Disney trips, and that's just how we choose to,
yeah,
to do it for us. And we're always looking
exactly.
at the best value and how we can bring the cost down and all the rest of it. But sometimes you pay for what you get, and that's just where we would prefer to save up and do something like that, because we know it means so much to us, and it's important to us as a family.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I think that wraps us up. To be honest with you, honestly, like I've loved this episode. I've absolutely
I
loved
have
it.
a big question for you though. Have I
Go on.
converted you enough to actually like seriously think about I'm going to
I,
book a
I
Disney
I
cruise?
was thinking this genuinely halfway through the episode. Halfway through the episode, I'm sat here and you're telling me all of this amazing information, and I'm thinking I would buy a Disney cruise from you, like, like 100%. Genuinely, I will be amazed if we don't go on a Disney cruise next year. I would. I'd be so surprised. Yeah.
I think you should do it. I think you should
Yeah.
do it. Honestly, I can't recommend it enough to people because it's just so special. And until you're on board, it's hard to kind of convey that. But if anyone, I mean, obviously your listeners will be into the parks and things. If you love the
Yeah.
parks, I cannot see a single reason why you would not love a Disney cruise.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Brilliant. Honestly, like, thank you so much. Thank you so,
Oh,
like,
thank
the
you for
the
having me.
the 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 level of detail which you've managed to go into as well, like, has been incredible. So genuinely, like, the amount of information you've given to me, as much as anything about Disney cruises, is amazing. So thank you so much for taking the
Oh,
time.
thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
So this was the episode with Anni Stores. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Anni had so much information. She was an absolute wealth of knowledge and an absolute pleasure to speak to. Once again, thank you to Anni for coming onto the podcast to talk all things Disney cruises. And I will speak to you all in the next one.